Hi, it's Dawn. Welcome back. I'm still working on these Dr. P.H. Martin concentrated watercolors. And I've done I did this wheel before, 2 other videos. And I'm using this Tim Holtz stencil. It's THS 179. It just lays out a really nice pattern, and I think it kind of looks fun. Before I turned the camera on, I was shaking these up pretty good. Some of these, like this burnt orange, had a really deep sediment on it. I mean, in the Chartreuse, I mean, we're talking just like up to here kind of sediment on it. So just, if you get these, just be aware of that. And so that you're getting a good, not just, ooh, look at that. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a whole bunch of sediment in the neck. Okay, I thought I'd shaken it up pretty good, but all I did was move the sediment around. All right, let's see. It is like goopy solidified in the neck. Oh, this is not, this is wild. All right. I already put some out on my palette, but I'm just wondering now if that's going to be a, ooh, it's mucky. All right, well, we're just going to go with what's on the palette for now. That is Cherry Red 6A is what we're using to start. And we're just doing the same thing we've been doing before, which is starting it at its most, oh wow, there's some sediment in what I already was working on. So apparently, if you let these sit for, I don't know, a dozen years, no, it's not been that long, but it's probably been, well, pre-pandemic, and this is 2025, so that's at least, I know it was several years pre-pandemic that I've had these, and I haven't touched them. So note to self, use your supplies. Yeah, this has got gooey parts in it, but yeah, we're just gonna muscle on. This has got a definite magenta quality to it. It's called Cherry Red. It's pigment, or the bottle label is 6A, and I believe the pigment information is on Doc Martens, DOCMARTINS.com, docmartins.com. Not the shoe, the pigments. We love the shoes, but that's not what this is. And that is very, very magenta-y. But, you know, it's nice to have a cool red. Very nice to have a cool red. Okay. So that's the red. Let's try the burnt orange. Burnt orange had a big sediment pile at the bottom. Let's see if we, okay. So it looks a little better, but who knows? And the concentrated part, if the icy ones have been the only ones that I have noticed that have had a non concentration. I mean, that's a non-concentration, really, Dawn. The icy, the ones that say ice whatever, they're the only ones that I've noticed so far. Well, okay, we're about to be made a liar out of, that are not highly pigmented. This burnt orange doesn't seem to be highly pigmented, but it looks really dark here on the plate. But then when I put it over here, now maybe I had too much water on my brush, so we're going to give it the benefit of the doubt, dry my brush, and come back over. A little better, but it's not nearly as pigmented as that cherry red it was, or some of these other colors. Wow, I keep dropping water going across. Way to go. Burnt orange looks really good, as oranges go. If you like orange. I do like muted colors more than these Skittles Taste the Rainbow colors, but you know, they have their place. So I'm not talking smack about these, but these are extremely bright colors by and large. And I'm more of a muted, earthy, and you can mute them down, you know, but just if it's these, if bright is your thing, these colors are for you. If bright isn't your thing, this might not be what you want, except this burnt orange is good. I like it. All right, the next one is Chartreuse. The label says 34C. This one had a super deep sediment at the bottom that it seems to be mixed up pretty nicely now. I hope that's still the case. Looks like there's a whole lot of sediment in the eyedropper though. Kind of trying to get that back down in, but whatever. We're just going to go with it. They're just tools, and you're only as good as you want to make your tools behave. All right, Chartreuse is our next color. 34C, I already said that. Why am I repeating myself? I don't know. I expected a very yellowy green, and I got a very yellowy green. I like spring greens though. They're pretty. Let's see, how does this compare to, okay, here's ice green up here, and then April green. So it is definitely a different color. I like it. I like the range that you get from all these greens. I tend to favor greens and blues personally. They're just my favorite colors. I don't dislike you know, reds and oranges and yellows, but I just tend to gravitate towards greens and blues. See if I can make this a little bit. I also think these would be better with a wet on wet technique rather than a wet on dry. In swatching them, I just have noticed that I think that they would do better with a wet on wet. So if that's your, and I'm not a big fan of wet on, I like wet on dry. That's just where my comfort level is. So if you like wet on wet, these could be good also. Just an observation. All right, this is Norway Blue 33C, like Charlie. This is highly pigmented, which we like. It's far easier in my view to start with highly pigmented and then graduate down than it is to start with a really pale pigment and try to layer it and glaze it and get all the to get the middle tones that you want. It's pretty easy to get the super pale ones, but to get the middle ones can sometimes be a challenge, the midtones. But it's also about water, and I'm not that great at water. I tend to grab too much or not enough. I live in that land of extremes. But we like Norway Blue. It's a pretty color. It's kind of like Prussian meets, I don't know, something. Okay, moving on is Ultra Blue 21B. This looks really deep, like a leaning towards violet. Let's see what we end up with here. Let's try a little bit less water. Ultra. Oh, not violet at all. Looks very ultramarine. Hence the name, Ultra. But when you put it on the plate, it looks much deeper. All right. We can be flexible. But that's why you swatch. You don't take these labels for granted. See that Ultra Blue? Looks very violet, right? On the label. Yep. Why did I grab more water? I don't know. Didn't mean to. very ultramarine. This looks a bit more cerulean. When I was unscrewing the cap just now, there's some crusty bits that fell on the ultra blue that fell into the plate, and a little bit of crusty bit fell right there into the Norway blue. I don't mind that it's on there, but it's making a really neat blending situation there. Wow, this ultra blue a little goes a long way. Okay. And then our last color for this half of the color wheel is Sunrise Pink. It's 46D. And this is a very transparent color. So I suspect we're not going to get a lot of pigmentation here at all, because that's what has been the case with some of the other colors. Sunshine Yellow was like that. Ice Green was like that. Ice Blue was like that. So I'll be very surprised if we get a whole lot of saturation of color here, but that's all right. Sunrise Pink. And then we've got one more half a color wheel to finish up my stash of Dr. P.H. Martin's. They make, I don't even know how many colors they make. They make a lot of colors. I don't have them all, obviously. I'm just pulling out my stash, and obviously I haven't touched these in a long time, and I mentioned in one of my other videos, I think the last time I touched them, I think I used a color that was just super pigmented, and it just didn't really work for the project I was on, and so I just kind of have left them in a drawer, you know. Oopsie. Well, it doesn't help if you touch the blue when you're trying to do pink. Let's see if we can stop that nonsense. There we go. So I really just haven't touched them much. I had, you know, thoughts that I would use these more than I have, and I'm trying to, Dawn, you knew that, and then you went right back up to it again. Well, we're just going to let it be. If it bleeds, it bleeds. We understand the color. This gives us an idea, even if that one's a little wonky. But my point is I'm trying to use more of my stuff. And there I go again. Wow, I should stop while I'm not ahead. Anyway, so that's Sunrise Pink, and like I said, I have one more half a wheel to do over here, and then that will finish off those those watercolors. And then I also have Dr. P.H. Martin's inks in these guys. Now these are this one's an iridescent. But these are inks, not watercolors, which means once they're dry, they don't reconstitute, and they're waterproof. So I'm going to play with some of these too, because again, I think seeing the color swatched out is helpful. So I'm going to do a whole P.H. Martin series. But anyway, I digress. That's it for this time around. Here is our latest 6 colors of the P.H. Martin, and the rainbow is here. Taste the rainbow. We'll see you again next time. Bye.